Joining us now is the chairman of the American Conservative Union, Matt Schlapp. He's a former political director for President George W. Bush, Eugene Robinson, Michael Steele, Ron Fournier. Back with us as well.
So, Matt, what happened? Marco also skipped a conservative event in South Carolina so he could do a Frank Luntz focus group on Fox, and now he's skipping yet another conservative, the preeminent conservative event. What happened here?
I don't know what they were thinking. I've been working with them for 7 months to try to get an answer. All the other presidential candidates are going to be there. You know, this is an interesting year. In typical Donald Trump fashion, when we invited him to speak at CPAC, I sent him an email, and he does that big handwriting that he does. Matt, I wouldn't miss it. I got an answer back in like 15 minutes. No bureaucracy. Got an answer. Ted Cruz, Ted Cruz is a bright guy. I didn't have to go explaining to Ted Cruz why he should be there. He was calling me. What's the best time? How many slots can I get? How many people can I bring?
Exactly.
That's how that guy operates, right? So just with Marco, it's been a long process of trying to get him there.
But isn't Marco always been measured? You know, Chris Christie said boy in the bubble. He may not be the boy in the bubble, but he certainly, from the very start, has had walls and walls of protection around him, right?
Well, all I can say is this. The long process to try to get to a yes or a no. It was unfortunate they leaked my private emails going back and forth on this. There's a lot more emails I could send. I don't want to get into all that. You know, I'd love him to be there. This really isn't about whether or not I'm happy with how the process has gone. These activists that come across the country, from all over the country, deserve to hear from him. He wants to be their nominee for president. This is the moment. Ronald Reagan came 13 times. He started his national political career at CPAC, and our theme comes from his very first address after he was elected president. The theme is, our time is now. And for conservatives across the country, by the way, they don't win this time. They're in trouble.
I was curious about the whole process, and you laid that out well. Talk about, if you can, just the impact of CPAC right now. I mean, as we've seen with Donald Trump, he's transformed how you run for president. What impact do you see, or are you beginning to see, among grassroots activists relative to a Trump candidacy and campaign versus some of the other traditional campaigns that we've seen? And what are you hearing that the grassroots coming to CPAC are looking for?
Well, first thing is the grassroots activists that are coming to CPAC, these are not people that feel like Donald Trump is beyond the pale. A lot of these people are happy that Donald Trump could be the nominee. And the other thing is that people think that Donald Trump is a cult of personality. This is just a strange occurrence because this man has a very unique personality. That is not what's happening out there politically. What's happening out there politically is people are trying to figure out a new way to play this game of politics. How do they save their country? This is a very genuine, heartfelt movement that's happening out there in the country. And Donald Trump happens to be speaking for these people. But it really isn't as much about Donald Trump as it is people who feel displaced. Do you call the RNC for answers? Do you call the Heritage Foundation for answers? Where do you turn to on the dial? I know this show, but where do you turn to on the dial to get your answers? The American people are searching, and so are conservatives.
Wow. What's your drop dead time? What time does Rubio have to tell you yes or no?
I believe in happy endings, Ron. I think he should be there. I think he should be able.
Let you know
I think he should be able to figure this out by the time we all sit down for lunch today, don't you?
That sounds like
No, I mean, my question is, in what universe does it make sense for Marco Rubio not to be there? Not to be at CPAC, and that's maybe not a question for you, maybe for the panel. But how could you, in the Rubio campaign, calculate that this was anything but a no-brainer? To show up at CPAC. Everybody shows up at CPAC all the time.
Let me speak as the guy that had a 95, 96% ACU conservative rating last time.
That's true. I can verify it.
I don't get it.
Makes no sense. Well,
and by the way,
first place,
he has a 97. He's a great conservative senator. A lot of people in this crowd love him. He's a friend of mine. He's been a conservative senator. Come speak to these people. They want to see you.
You served in the White House with the president. You know the importance of process. What does this process tell us about how he might run a White House?
Well, all I can say is it took 7 months to get a yes or a no. That wasn't a great thing. But actually, I look at it a different way.
Got to make decisions quickly.
I got to look at it this way. Look, I've been on a couple of presidential campaigns. You got to lay your schedule down. You got to make decisions. You got to disappoint people. You got to tell people no. It's all part of the process. If you can look him in the eye and tell him that, everyone's going to be just fine.
What does it say about how he would govern? He gets elected to the Senate. He stopped showing up to vote. He says he hates the Senate. He doesn't show up for the most important conservative conference out there. He doesn't really show up in Iowa, New Hampshire. If you talk to people in Iowa, New Hampshire, they say he doesn't have a presence there. Are you concerned about how he would govern as president?
Well, his answer to this is going to be, I'm going to be in these states where there's actually voting. And I don't think that's a terrible answer. I just think that when it's conservatives, 2/3 of the people pulling the levers in these booths, this is the place to be, and Ronald Reagan showed us you should be here. As far as
how many times was Reagan there?
13 times.
Wow.
I mean, this is something that everybody who wants to lead conservatives and be their nominee, they come. And why did they come, Joe? Because not everyone's from Iowa and New Hampshire. Some people are from states that are never going to see a presidential candidate.
Right.
And if you're a conservative, you ought to be able to have your own version of a conservative primary. And this is where you show up.
It's also a lot of fun.
It is.
Thank you. That's right. It's interesting sometimes.
I'm telling you, I feel like I'm in a special museum when I'm at CPAC.
Are you treated with respect?
Very much so.
What's so
I have a great time there.
She's treated with respect, but actually she's the one they look at like an artifact.
Yes.
Who is this person? But I will say, they're always so polite to her when she shows up, despite the fact that she's just come from the Young Mark League meeting across the way.
Well, I'm just happy about the fact that you're having it in my backyard in Maryland, state of Maryland, Prince George's County, and National Harbor.
Matt Schlapp, thank you so much. Come back on the show.
I'd love to.
All right. I hope this works out. I hope you can get him to show up.
I'll give you a quick answer.